Thanks everybody for coming out tonight for our candidate forum with the sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce Governmental Affairs Committee. I'm Eric Hortness, the director of the chamber, and just a couple of quick notes. If you do have a question for the candidates, Courtney, who's our committee coordinator with the chamber, and Erica Clements, who's on our governmental affairs committee, will be walking around with clipboards, and you can write your question down on a note card and turn it back into them, and then they'll get it up to us here on the stage. About the only requirement with the questions is make sure you note on your card if it's directed at city commission or at school board. And the other note is that make sure that it's directed as at the whole city commission group or the whole school board group, not just one individual candidate. So with that, I'll turn it over to our moderator tonight, John Hunter from the Madison Daily Leader.
Thanks, Eric. Oh, look at the applause. I'm flattered. Oh, thank you so much. Remember to tip your waitress. Good evening. Tonight's forum is an opportunity for everyone who is interested in the success of Madison Central School District or the city of Madison to have a chance to listen to the candidates, understand a little bit of their background, ask questions, and so on. So we appreciate everyone coming tonight. The forum is sponsored by the Greater Madison Area Chamber of Commerce Government Affairs Committee. We thank them, and those committee members put in a lot of work, and we are grateful for their efforts all year, but particularly in putting this forum together. We appreciate your attendance here, and also welcome KJAM listeners. KJAM is broadcasting this event, and so hopefully we'll have a lot of listeners who are not able to be here in person. We're trying to inform voters, of course, for the election on Tuesday, April 10th. That's next Tuesday, just less than a week away. We also, one last thank you, and that's to Madison Central School District for allowing us to use the facility here at the Madison High School Auditorium. So here's a little bit of the format we're going to use for the forum. Tonight, there are 4 candidates. They're closest to me here for the city commission. Those 4 candidates are running for 2 open city commission positions. We have 2 incumbents and 2 challengers. For those 2, it's a non-partisan election. For the school board, you see over there, there are 3 candidates running for 2 open positions. And we have 2 incumbents and 1 challenger there. There is another spot open on the school board and that's a 1-year term, and that was filled by, there was only 1 candidate who had a petition for that. And so there is no challenge election for that. The format is going to allow each candidate to be given up to 3 minutes to introduce themselves, explain their qualifications, and summarize what issues are important to them. Following that, we will allow questions again that have been prepared either by the Government Affairs Committee or by members of the audience, the cards that you were handed when you came in. And then those, again, as Eric mentioned in the introduction, they would either be directed for the city commission or the school board. And so we ask you to put those on the cards in advance so we can direct them in the correct area. Each candidate will get to answer the question on the card. In other words, one card, 4 answers out of that, and they will each be given 90 seconds to do so. And we will alternate between city and school board questions until it's not matched up anymore. At the end, we'll allow 2 minutes for each of the candidates to kind of give their final comments and closing remarks. We are going to be doing them in alphabetical order, so if you're depends on the family you were born into determines the order. We didn't draw for those as they do for sometimes for ballot positions. For the questions brought up by the audience, there will be a random draw as the order. Those will not be in alphabetical order, but they will be drawn prior to each question. I'd ask you to please hold your applause during the forum until the end to allow more time to hear the candidates' stances and positions on issues. One more time, we ask you to mute or turn off your cell phones to avoid interruptions from that. We appreciate that. We have a timekeeper for tonight. We'll hold up cue cards. Jane Utek, we thank you for your contribution to this. So pay attention. I'll say something polite if you ignore her. Um, that's I will do my best to do that. But Jane will hold up a card to indicate when 30 seconds remain and the time expired. If a candidate continues to speak after that, that's the point of which I'll be modestly polite. All right, candidates, how are we doing? Everybody ready? First, in fact, I don't know the alphabetical order here. On the introductions, we're going to start with the City Commission. It looks like Marshall. Marshall, you have 3 minutes to introduce yourself, and go ahead.
Good evening. My name's Marshall Dennert. I moved to Madison in 1986. I was a lab tech for the hospital for a year and a half. And then I moved into, I own and operate Madison Inst Printing for the last 15 years. And I also drive uh, school bus for the school for the last 14 years. The issues that are important to me would be lowering utility costs, reduce spending and long-term debt, and being a strong voice for the public. Thank you.
Next up is Robert Thill.
I'm a lifelong resident of Madison. My wife, Mary, and I have 3 children and 3 grandchildren. I retired from the City of Madison Public Works. At that time, I was in charge of the streets, seal coating, garbage, snow removal, restricted use site. In addition to that, I did the day-to-day basics, and I worked on getting the budget lined up for the city commissioners at that time. Some of the things that is important to the city commissioners is the infrastructure, electrical usage, and generating revenue and growth for the city. And we must keep our streets and our water and sewer mains up to capacity. And right now, you know, you you get into something and it don't take long to burn up $200,000-300,000 to do that. And our electrical uh, capacity is being generated into the underground facilities right now. So we got 2 or 3 more years of that, or maybe longer. So when we get the electrical upgrade done, it will be a big plus for the city of Madison. Thank you.
Teresa Valoy Leash.
Hi, my name is Teresa Leash. I have lived in Madison for about 16 years. I am married to my husband, Chad. I have 2 sons that both attend the school district. Tayton is a junior and Tucker is a kindergartner. Um, I work at First Line Funding. I'm a workflow coordinator of collections, and I also work at the Leader part-time. And the reason why I'm running is because I think instead of being on the sidelines and just seeing something in the paper, I want to be one help making decisions of what's going on in Madison. Madison is important to me. I think we live in a really nice community. We have beautiful parks. Seems like we have a great group of people that live here, and that's one of the reasons why I'm running.
Mike Waldner.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Wellner, a 30-plus resident of Madison. I'm proud to have served as your Public Safety Commissioner for the City of Madison for the past 2 terms over the last 6 years. Over that time, we've accomplished many positive things for our city, built relationships, partnerships, worked hard on collaboration, and efforts to promote, protect a healthy and vibrant Madison. On the personal side, I'm married, 3 children, all of which have graduated from Madison High School. My wife, Lori, as well as my mom, is also a graduate of Madison High School. Proud of my family history here in Madison that goes back to my grandparents who lived in Madison for over 70 years. A fun fact about me would be that I finished numerous half Ironman triathlons. These endurance events help keep me grounded mentally as well as physically. I have undergraduate degrees. I was a double major as well as a master's degree in information systems from Dakota State University. My employment career has been around the technology industry, business startups, DSU, and state government. I've been blessed to have great leaders and mentors around me during my career. I've worked on many statewide impact projects where decisions made years ago are still helping people today. Currently, I work for the Bureau of Information Telecommunications as a project manager for a project called FirstNet. FirstNet is a nationwide project to build a mobile broadband network specifically for first responders and public safety. I'm making sure South Dakota is well represented. This allows me to work with public safety officials across our state as well as the nation. I give various presentations throughout the state as well as on the national level. I'm able to learn from nationwide best practices and then utilize them here in our community. As for the opportunities important to me, I know we will need good leadership to guide the community through the planned growth for Madison. We need to work on the possibility of joining the county with their public safety building and also any improvements to spark and the continued economic development that's happening in our community and anything that we can do as a city within the commission to improve our community to make it an even better place to live, play, and raise a family.
Very good. Thank you, Mike. So, hand this over. So again, these are the 4 city commission candidates that you listened to for 2 spots. Now we will shift over to the school board. 3 candidates for 2 spots. We'll start with Steve Nelson.
Hi, everybody. My name's Steve Nelson. I have an incredible wife of 17 years named Deb. She works at the hospital. She has black hair, and I'm kind of known as Deb's husband. I have 3 amazing kids, a 16-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 10-year-old, and they are very important to me. And so that's kind of why I'm running for the school board. I've been on the school board for 10 years, and this is my first opportunity to brag about what a great school we have. And so here it goes.
Steve, I'm going to ask you to put the mic a little bit closer, please.
Put the mic a little bit closer.
Thank you.
Okay, I just said that I haven't done this before, and I've been on the school board for 10 years. Let me see. I've lived here all my life. I really believe that Madison is the best place to live and raise a family. I'm passionate about a lot of things. I'm passionate about my kids. I'm passionate about the community, and I just want to be a part of their education. Being on the school board has taught me a lot over the 10 years, and a lot of the people don't understand like the scale, like our job description, if you will, and we are to write policy and hire and fire the superintendent. That's kind of that's the written rule. Okay, but we are also like a contact to the community, and in being that contact, it's kind of fun for me because you get to listen to the people of the community, and you're always available. I'm relatively tall, so I stick out and people recognize me. So if they have a problem, it seems like it's not hard to find me. And they tell me about that. And I enjoy that part, even though it might not be part of our job description. And sometimes I might not do the right thing according to by the book or how to handle that. But I just care about that kind of stuff. And I think I'm going to yield the rest of my time to Miss Lori Schultz.
Very good. So Lori Schultz is next.
Thank you. First of all, good evening. Thank you for coming out tonight. It's great to see there's an interest in our upcoming election. I think that's important. My name is Lori Schultz, and I am married to Terry Schultz. We have 2 children. McKenna is a freshman here at Madison High School, and Mallory is an 8th grader in our middle school. We reside on Terry's family farm, which we purchased about 6 years ago, and I am the human resource manager at Mustang Seeds. I am a high school graduate from Chamberlain, South Dakota, and I have a Bachelor of Science degree in criminal justice and sociology from Morehead State University. And I have my master's degree in counseling and human resource development from SDSU. I am here this evening because I am a candidate for the 3-year term on the Madison Central School Board. In June of 2017, I was appointed to the school board after Charlie Moore resigned due to moving outside of the district. I have learned a tremendous amount in those short 9 months about the school district and what it means to be a school board member. I believe in public education, and I find value in every child having the right to a free and quality education. I believe we have dedicated teachers, administration, and staff in the Madison schools, and that their #1 priority is to educate our youth. Children do not learn the same, nor do they have the same abilities. This is one reason I am supportive of programs like CTE, the Career Tech and Ed program, and their expansion. Creative programs like CTE provide opportunities for students to explore and work towards being marketable after high school. Students who may otherwise lose interest in school find their time in high school valuable because they are working towards having a career following high school. As a board member, I will strive to continue the tradition of quality education in the Madison School District, and I will be a good steward of your tax dollars. I will not shy away from issues that need to be addressed, and I believe in working on it as a team to solve problems that may arise. I am able to look at situations objectively, keeping the focus on what is in the best interest of the person or the group that I am representing. I understand the role of a school board member, and I believe in the chain of command. I have found that through past experiences that many issues can be resolved by following this philosophy. My professional, educational, and personal background have prepared me to serve on the school board. I have experience in working with nonprofits and for-profits. I have experience in managing organizations and events. And I'm looking forward to your questions tonight. And I hope you leave here educated on who you're going to vote for. Thank you.
Susan Kelly Wicks.
Hello, good evening. My name is Susan Kelly Wicks. I have been a resident of Madison for about 17 years. I moved here in 2001 to marry my now husband, who was already working as a youth director at St. John Lutheran Church at that time. In most of the time that I've lived in Madison, I was employed by community counseling services. I started out as a home-based social worker, providing counseling, parenting assistance, case management in individuals' homes in the Madison community and in surrounding communities. I worked my way up in that agency, and in 2016, when I left, I was the clinical director there. Sanford Health in Sioux Falls offered me a position that I couldn't refuse in 2016, and I started working down there as an integrated health therapist. But my husband and my child and I enjoy the Madison community so much that we decided not to leave. And so I am one of those commuters every day that drives back and forth in this wonderful weather that we have. Um, my priorities, if I were to be so fortunate as to be elected to serve on the school board, would be pretty simple. I believe in being an advocate for all kids and families that the school district serves. In my professional career, I worked with families that struggled with addiction issues, mental health issues, poverty, trauma, and I know very well, having seen that firsthand, that not all systems that most systems are not designed to serve those children and families, even really good school systems. And so I want to be the person in the room who is asking questions about why we're doing what we're doing and about how these decisions about policy and budget impact those students. How does that impact the kid that is living in poverty or the kid that suffers from traumatic situations? So that would be my first priority. My second priority is just to support teachers. I am married to a teacher who works a second job to make ends meet. So I know the struggles. I know them fairly well. He would probably say I don't know them as well as he does. Um, but I think the teachers are the ones that do the actual work, the hard work in our school systems. They're the ones that sit with my son and teach him how to multiply fractions. Um, and they're the ones that we need to support. And I really do believe that we need to um, honor them with appropriate salaries and give them the other resources that they need to do the work that needs to be done in our school. So thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Eric is going to come get the microphone. We're going to advance to the question phase. We have some questions in hand. We're going to try to alternate between city and school board. As we mentioned, all 4 candidates have a chance to answer each of the questions. Ms. Timekeeper, can you draw the first? Oh, Eric has. Okay, well, and Eric's capable of this too. So, all right, it looks like Marshall gets to answer this question first. They don't know what these questions are. It's kind of like, whose line is it anyway, isn't it? The community center is a partnership between the city and DSU. The facility is about 18 years old. What is your vision for its future? You have about 90 seconds, Marshall.
Okay.
Once you start speaking.
My vision for the community center is make it stronger um, uh, and share in with DSU um, on the cost of things, uh, repairs, along with income um, to make it a better place for the whole community to be able to go use. Um, and that's it.
Very good. Thank you. Eric, should we draw another? Okay, Bob. Bob Thild, same question. The community center is a partnership between the city and DSU. The facility is about 18 years old. What is your vision for its future?
Well, I'd hate to see the community center go away because there's a lot of people use it, and it's all on membership. So it it's kind of like Dakota State uses it a lot, and a lot of the public uses it, and it's a very good cost effective business up there, and I think we have some very good employees up there. I think Eric's doing a pretty good job up there, and we got a lot of members, so it's working. Let's leave it set. And if there's any maintenance that has to be done, it should be to college 50-50. So, okay.
Very good. Thank you. Teresa?
Well, I personally don't use the community center very often. I'm too busy with my other 2 jobs, but I know that my son is there about 3 or 4 hours a night. My husband likes to go there. My son likes to go swimming. I don't know what the price breakdown between when there is a issue between DSU and the city is, but I would hope that we would have it for a long time. Coming from a small town of Lenox, we had a small gym. It seemed to be very hard to keep an owner in there. So you'd get a membership. 3 months later, the owner couldn't keep it open. You're trying to get your refund. The community center, we don't have to worry about that. It's always there for us. You can always go swimming. It's clean. The employees are friendly. It's nice just to have it, and to have the offsite one above the police station is also nice to have if you don't want to go to the community center and work out in front of people if you're heavy like I am. And I think that hopefully down the road, we just were able to keep it the way it is and do any improvements. It seems like that the machines get upgraded when they need to be. I haven't heard anything in the past that there's any kind of issues with something not getting taken care of. So I think it's a great asset that Madison has that we're able to utilize.
Very good. Thank you. Mike Waldner.
Well, I'm the commissioner liaison with the community center, and so I'm pretty aware of what takes place there. And obviously, the community center is a huge asset, and kudos to the hundreds of people that work together in Madison to actually create the facility and pull it together. It's a great partnership with Dakota State University. We're governed by a board of people from the city as well as people from DSU. And as far as the center itself, we have babies in the daycare all the way up to our elders in our community that are utilizing this facility and everything in between. You got all your sports and tough big guys that can lift a whole bunch of big weights and put them down and all that. But we also with our elderly being able to do water aerobics in our swimming pool, being able to use the walking track. It's amazing the amount of people that can utilize that. Plus, it's one of those mainstays when people do come to our community, they always go through the community center to take a look at it. Now, in the future, with DSU and their proposed athletic facility that they're looking at doing, I'm guaranteeing you, as long as I'm around and I'm sure of it, is that we will communicate with DSU. Is there a way that we can facilitate with the existing community center with that whole proposal that they have? So
Very good. Thank you. Eric, you want to get the microphone? That's it for those for that question for the city commission. We're going to switch over to the school board. Again, let's draw for them. Let's see. That is going to be number 3. That is Susan, and she will start this one. Susan, what is the biggest challenge you see the school district facing, and what thoughts or ideas do you have to tackle that challenge?
Well, I think the biggest challenge that Madison Central School District faces, just like most of the school districts in this state, is just an issue of prioritizing funding. I mean, we all know that the school board is not authorized to set taxes, raise taxes on its own. And so there really is just certain sources of funding coming in the door, and the school board has to make the decisions about where that funding goes and what priorities are higher than others. My thoughts around that go back to what I said in my opening statement. I think supporting our staff, supporting our teachers, paying them as much as is fiscally responsible to pay them so that we can retain good teachers, recruit good teachers. But then also, I think we need to look at other ways of supporting our teachers. If you look at the strikes that are going on around the country, even this week, you'll see that those teachers aren't just striking for salary issues. They're striking to make sure that they have resources in their classrooms to do the jobs that they love doing. And we need to make sure that we make all of that possible for our teachers here.
Thank you. Lori Schultz, I'll repeat the question. What is the biggest challenge you see the school district facing, and what thoughts or ideas do you have to tackle that challenge?
Well, I would agree with Susan. I think funding is always a challenge, and especially when you want to continue the quality education that we offer here at Madison. You don't want to cut corners when it comes to educating our youth. And so, how do you fund um, the great things that are going on with being limited in your income? So I would agree that that's a major issue. Right there, close to it, is probably space for me. I think that we are kind of running out of space at our high school. Um, some would say at our elementary, some would say not. We have some classes that are requiring us to have five groups of a particular class. Others only require three. So I think that's being worked out okay, but is that going to continue down the long road? So I think we need to kind of explore that a little bit, especially with the things going on at DSU. And if we're going to have an influx of people coming to our community, is that going to affect our enrollment here at Madison? So I think that kind of fits in with the funding also. How are we going to pay for all that? So that's my answer.
Thank you. Steve Nelson, we're going to ask you the same question. What is the biggest challenge you see the school district facing, and what thoughts or ideas do you have to tackle that challenge?
Well, the biggest challenge, luckily, I'm happy to say, we have an administration that is able to take on any challenge, and we're a very solid school district. So a big challenge to some other district probably isn't a big challenge for us. But I would also have to also say funding, because it's all about competitive teacher pay. So in order to get the best teachers and retain the best teachers, we have to be competitive with our neighboring states. We're in close proximity to Minnesota, and not too far from Iowa, so people can um, move a little more easily. That all boils down to the funding formula. So it'd be advocacy to the state legislatures to increase funding, increase funding, increase funding. Um, I feel like Mr. Farrell, our fearless leader, our school board president, is sitting right here out in the middle, and I'm kind of stealing his answers because I'm a student of Mr. Farrell, and that's what he would say, I believe. So I hope I'm passing the test. Yeah. So that would be the biggest challenge. You talk about space. We did the remodel. We have, I think, I mean, we we're addressing issues like that. The new funding formula. We have an awesome business manager that's on top of that. Um, so I think I think my other biggest challenge, my next biggest challenge. Can I keep going?
Nope, I'm afraid
Oh,
Jane is not going to let you.
shoot! Sorry.
But we can hold that thought. Thank you, Steve. We're going to switch back to a question for the city commission. We will draw again. Looks like this one is Teresa gets to start. Teresa, electrical rates within the city limits are extremely high. Do you have any thoughts or ideas on how to lower those rates?
This is a really, really hard question. Almost every person out of the 50 that signed for me to get on the ballot wanted to know about electrical rates. What can you do? How can you lower them? Why do they keep going up? The hard thing is we don't get electricity from one place. So when you use it and they ask you, they send out the mass text messages, please lower your electrical rates, turn things off, don't use it, and we still use it, we pay higher rates. And so we pay more. I know my electrical rates are high. Every month, me and my husband get our bill and we're like, oh my God, how could we use that much electricity? But that's what happens in the winter when it's cold. And I think that it's hard to get a grasp of how expensive electric is when you find out where it's coming from and the price that we pay and the amount we have in reserve to cover it in case there's ever a catastrophe. We need to have the reserve money there, which we have. But I think, these are things that are set many moons before any of us got up here today for our rates that we're at right now. So I don't have an idea on how to lower them um, right now. I think I need to learn a little bit more about where the electrical comes from and how rates are set before I can actually answer that. and hopefully one of these other guys has a better answer for you.
Very good. Thank you. Let's hand it over to Mike. Mike Waldner will repeat the question. Electrical rates within the city limits are extremely high. Do you have any thoughts or ideas as to how to lower these rates?
Yeah, it's electrical rates are it's one of those things it's easy to throw stones at, and it's a very complex issue. And by the way, Steve, we're all students of Mr. Farrell. So I just thought I'd mention that. Um, obviously we always you have to look at the prices as to where we purchase our power from. So that's one indicator. The other thing is that I think our electric department has been doing in the last few years been doing a lot of work going and talking to the businesses and even just something as simple as when do you turn on your major equipment, and because there's also where we get billed for a huge spike. So it's peak demand, we get billed for that. And like Teresa said, when you get that text that says, hey, there's an energy alert, we're not kidding. If you turn your devices off, turn your whatever you can off your computers, it will help overall with the rates. I will also mention and throw out this last year we did not raise the rates. We kept them as even. And like Teresa also said, I pay the electric bill as well, just like everybody else. So I think we are doing some things. We're doing the best we can. And at this point, it is what it is.
Very good. Let's go to Bob Thill. Bob, I'll repeat the question. Electrical rates within the city limits are extremely high. Do you have any thoughts or ideas as to how to lower these rates?
Yeah, they are high, but when you have to go and start buying power from Heartland, it is expensive power. Your electric space heaters draws a lot of juice, and they're expensive to run. Sure, that it might keep you warm, but your electric heat is only off for about 10 minutes in the wintertime, and then it's on again. And it's we could turn off a lot of street lights, but then you run into a safety issue, and we don't want that either. But we're switching a lot of our city buildings over to LED lighting, and that should help cut down on the cost. Thank you.
Very good. Let's switch to Marshall Dennert. Marshall, electrical rates within the city limits are extremely high. Do you have any thoughts or ideas as to how to lower these rates?
Well, first of all, we need to educate the community on the peaks where it's high, what what hours you should run your dryer, washer. Um, that's one way. The other way is I've talked to several people in the community, um, and the the thing I get from them is that we keep increasing the electrical rates to pay for another department's budget when they have a shortcome. And I think I think that shouldn't be tolerated. Um, I look at it as a business. We should take what it costs us for a unit of electricity, put our overhead for our electric department in there, and that's what it should cost the consumer. Um, instead of increasing the rates just to cover another department's downfall. Um, with that, and I think if we just educate the community more when to use it, um, and when not to, I think that will help us out too. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Marshall. We'll switch over to a school board question. This, we actually had two questions that are similar, so let's combine them and you can comment on those. First, we need to draw, and the lucky winner of the new car is Lori Schultz. So here are the two questions. They both deal with school safety. There have been a number of attacks at campuses around the country that have resulted in loss of life. Do you think our schools are as safe as they can be? What are your thoughts on the school resource officer program?
Okay, those are great questions. Well, things can always improve, no matter what you do. But I do think our schools are safe. As a parent, I'm at the schools and as a volunteer, and you have to check in through the outside monitors. I had a situation where there was another parent that walked up behind me when I was going to the elementary for junior achievement, and I stated my reason for being there. Lori Schultz, here for junior achievement. And the secretary on the other end said, "And who is behind you?" I'm like, I didn't know who was behind me, and I had no idea. And so that person stepped forward and stated who they were. That was pretty impressive to me because, like I said, I had no clue there was anybody even behind me. So I think in that sense, we're doing a good job. I believe that safety is a huge priority to our school district. There was an incident recently where we worked with the city of Madison, Lake County, with federal investigation, and our school district put us in parameter secure status. Excellent. Those are the of responses we need. People need to take action. If you see something, you say something, right? SRO, I'm limited to 10 seconds. I think it's a fabulous program. We need to keep it going. It builds relationships with students outside the community, and that is always good.
All right, let's switch to Steve Nelson next for this question. I'll do my best to repeat what we said the first time. There have been a number of attacks at campuses around the country that have resulted in loss of life. Do you think our schools are as safe as they can be? What are your thoughts on the school resource officer program?
I'm a big fan of the school resource officer program. As far as safety goes, our schools are safe. Our community is in, incredible. Okay, we have great student body. They're caring, and we all know that there's underlining causes for the problems with the shootings and with all that chaos that happens. I wanted to thank the co-op that the city. I mean, there was a cost share with the SRO when we first got it started, and I want to thank for that. Thank you guys for that. And if that's ongoing, I mean, it's greatly appreciated. It's also beneficial because you can you can find problems in the school and you can follow those home, and by following those home, you can make our whole community safer. So it's one of those things where it's invaluable. We have to continue this, and it just benefits everybody. You have kids that you wouldn't know that are homeless, that the teachers who are closest to the kids find out that, hey, this person is living at an address that isn't in their parents' name. Okay, got 30 seconds. All right. It's just very important, and the benefits are beyond measure. Support this program, and thank you, city commissioners, for also supporting it.
Very good, thank you. Susan Kelly Wicks, I will repeat the question. There have been a number of attacks at campuses around the country that have resulted in the loss of life. Do you think our schools are as safe as they can be? And what are your thoughts on the school resource officer program?
Thank you. So I guess you guys are going to get to hear my analytical sort of research geek side on this question. I apologize. This is the way that I approach the world and a lot of questions like this. I think our schools are as safe physically as you can reasonably make them. What we know about all of these school shooters and all of these mass shooting attacks around the nation is that the things that are most predictive of gun violence are the attacker being young, being male, being socially isolated. So, from my research background, it seems logical to me that resources could be spent helping our students, particularly our male students, feel less socially isolated. I don't know if that means more counselors in the school or if that means making sure that the counselors are spending their time with students and not with administrative tasks that other people could do, freeing up our teachers to do what they do best and building relationships with students. That to me seems like the most effective way to assure safety in the school. The SRR program, I don't know enough about that. Again, I'm going to my research geek side and saying, I don't know what the goals of that program are, and I don't know if we're measuring if those goals are being met. So again, I want to be the person in the room that's asking questions about this and getting the real data to see if what we're doing in the schools is effective.
Very good. Thank you. We're going to switch back. What I believe is our final question, and unless we get another card from, and Courtney says yes, we've got more. Okay, but for now we're going to work on a city commission question. This goes to Bob first. Robert Thill, how do you think the city should address the housing needs in town, especially with historic homes and neighborhoods that are in less than desirable condition?
Well, the housing is affordable care. It's based on your income. And right now, I think we probably got one apartment complex in the southeast or southwest part of town that is not completely full. I'm not sure, but it's all based on your income, and it's that's nothing that we have to do with it. It is all federal regulated, and we don't have anything to do with that.
Very good. Let's go to Marshall next. Marshall, Dennert, I'll repeat the question. How do you think the city should address the housing needs in town, especially the historic homes and neighborhoods that are in less than desirable condition?
I think the city has adequate homes for families in Madison, um, and also have available lots if we need to grow bigger. I think where we tend to fall down on is to stay continuous growth with Dakota State. Um, I think the housing falls short for students and also faculty. Um, I think as a city commissioner, we need to work with Dakota State and potential uh, investors that want to come into Madison to provide more housing for students and faculty. Um, but we also need to make sure we're putting them in a correct place and not tearing down historical sites to put them in.
Very good. Thank you. Let's go to Michael Waldner next. Eric, you want to hand the thing? Mike, the question, how do you think the city should address the housing needs in town, especially the historic homes and neighborhoods that are in less than desirable condition?
Well, the first thing is, as a city, it's hard for us because we can't go out and pay developers to develop houses. We can't obviously put money in and say, okay, let's build a whole bunch of houses. We need to work with developers. I think we do have developers that are either interested in Madison or they're right here in Madison, and they are willing to develop and add additional houses in our community. Housing is something that I think I was reading something a while back, and this goes back to 1968 and probably even earlier. It's been an issue for Madison for a long time. As a city, we can do things as far as infrastructure, make sure those developers have the things that they need, the tools, make sure that our ordinances aren't delaying or slowing them down with their development. Now, as far as the undesirable locations, that's been a struggle for me for the past two terms, And with the exception of when we do have most of that is complaint based. When we get complaints from the public about an undesirable location, unfortunately or fortunately, we send our police department and they go out, they have a conversation either with the renter or with the owner of, or sometimes both of that residence. And then we try to work it out and do what we can.
Very good. Teresa Leash, question is, how do you think the city should address the housing needs in town, especially with the historic homes and neighborhoods that are in less than desirable condition?
I think at this time, I know just trying to find a house that's for sale is very hard. Me and my husband have been talking about selling our house and finding one. I think it really fluctuates with the seasons and where everyone's at. Sometimes there's 4 for sale, sometimes there's 40. I've never had to look for an apartment in town, but from friends, I know that it's very hard to find an apartment, one that you desire if it's not in the right neighborhood or what have you. And then it seems like all the college kids go home for the summer and there's all these apartments available. So I think it just kind of depends on where we're sitting for the time of season. I think as Madison grows, I think it's going to be a struggle. I just don't know if we have enough real estate to put out there and enough developers to get it done, depending on how fast we grow. Um, with the houses downtown that are undesirable, I think that that makes it very hard. I think most of those houses are rentals. They're not ones that people own as a homeowner. I think I probably take a little bit more pride in my home than a renter. And with that, I think that's probably why we have some of the um, maybe the houses that aren't being kept up. I don't know at this point what one would do, going off what Mike had said. You know, if you get the complaints and you have the police go out there, there's only so much that you're able to do before maybe someone's evicted to try to keep that neighborhood where it should be.
Great, thank you. Okay, we're going to switch over to the school board for the next question. This is, oh, let's see who gets the winning. Oh my goodness, it's Steve. Steve Nelson, here's the question. It's kind of a two-part question, so we'll blend it into one. There, let's see. The topic is school closure on short notice for athletic events. And the question, what are your thoughts or comments about the loss of school days, stress to families needing childcare, and as part of that, are athletics being treated differently than other arts events that are also extracurricular activities?
Thanks for getting me. Thanks
You
for
get
being
the
first on this one. All right. Well, this is where that when I was like giving you a definition of like our job description on the school board comes to a consensus and then they move forward. All right. So my personal preference might be to go to school 6 days a week, much to the chagrin of my children, but we don't go to school 6 days a week. Um, as far as school closures on short notice, the school board doesn't make that decision. You know, my kids will ask me, they'll say, "Hey, we're gonna have school tomorrow," and I just tell them that I don't know. You know, we lately we might find out 30 seconds before everybody else. Now, it's not an easy job to just decide when we're going to close school or when we're not. I don't envy that position at all. As far as the calendar wise, we have a calendar committee that sets the dates for spring break, and usually that coincides with one of the athletic tournaments. As far as when and where you take off from the other times, that is out of the school board's hands. It's part of the calendar committee or the administration. I don't envy those decisions, but my personal preference is to go to school 6 days a week.
You're on the record.
All right. And I'm out of time? No, and no, well, not year round. I'm a farmer.
Very good.
I have to have
Well, let's
summers
get it
off.
down to Susan. Susan, you'll be the next to answer this one. I'll try to repeat it as I did last time. Regarding school closure on short notice, what are your thoughts, concerns about loss of school days, stress to families needing child care, and are athletics being put ahead of other extracurricular activities for school closures?
Well, I'll address the school closure on short notice issue first. I do have concerns about that. I recognize that it may not be a school board decision, but I can certainly say as a parent, it's really hard when you have a young child and you find out 5 days ahead of time that there's going to be 2 days. You thought he was going to be in school, and now you have to scramble and find another plan for him. And I do think that um, needs to be taken into higher consideration. As far as athletic events being treated differently than other arts events, I sometimes feel like that's the case. I'm not a huge sports fan. Um, I am more interested in arts and music, and sometimes it does feel like this school is really focused on sports. But I don't know that that is necessarily a school board issue, but maybe more of a community wide. More arts people like me need to come out and speak their mind and support those activities. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Lori Schultz, you can remember the question here. We're talking about school closure on short notice for athletic events. What are your thoughts or concerns over loss of school days, stress to families needing childcare, and are athletics being treated differently than other extracurricular activities?
Okay, well, first of all, I would agree with what Steve had to say about it. That's not our job. And I do not envy Mr. Jorgensen with making that decision at all. However, I don't think calling school off 5 days in advance for whatever event is as short of notice as a snow day. I would think that would be a bigger issue for childcare and such than having at least 5 days to prepare for that. So I have mixed feelings about it. We have to make up the days at the end of the calendar. That's the school or the state sets those number of days. So um, I really quite frankly don't feel that it's an issue. Our childcare is an issue in this town. We all know that. You try to find daycare, there's waiting lists and everything, and I'm not sure what the solution is to that. But I think it becomes an even bigger issue when families are trying to find care when there's a snow day or what have you. And again, I don't know the answer to that. If it's something that can be a community project with the community center and the after school program, I don't know. I just think that maybe that could be explored, and I would like to be involved in that. And I think that's it.
Very good. Thank you, Lori. We're going to move on to our final question. First of all, I want to thank the audience for the great questions. We aren't able to get to them all, but we think that we've chosen representative ones. So guess who does this? What a surprise. Mike Waldner gets the first shot at this one. The last question of the evening. We'll also have closing remarks by each candidate before we wrap it up. What is your plan for the community in regards to economic development?
Yeah, economic development is one of those things for the community that it's not just the city's job, it's everybody's job. It's all of us. And we all have to work together with it. Now, as a city, we can do everything possible to entice businesses to come into our community. But even more importantly, I feel we need to continue to work with the businesses that are already here. Work with Dakota State University and get some more spin-off businesses going with them. Some of the technology companies and technology interests of some of those students. Do some more spin-off businesses there. The other thing is everything else that we do as a city, the infrastructure, keeping our streets good, keeping we talked about heavily about the electrical. We're doing upgrades. We're burying some of our lines, and I know the streets people they keep our streets clean, and so that we have a good, clean community, a great environment. I'll talk about the rec trails. The rec trails, that shows business leaders as they come into our community that, wow, there's a city that cares about their employees, cares about their citizens, so they have something to do after hours. and so that they can take part in different recreations and different things within our community. But economic development, hands down, is everybody's job.
Very good. Teresa Leash, what is your plan for the community in regards to economic development?
I think that this is very important that we have development in Madison and that we do have businesses that come in. I actually was just asked this today. All of my coworkers knew that I had this going on, and one of them wanted to know, what can you do to bring more businesses downtown or keep the ones that we have so they don't leave? And you don't want to grow too fast. You grow too fast, you don't have the housing to house the people that are moving here. And so I think you have to take it in stride. Keep the ones that we have. We have a lot of great businesses downtown. We have a lot of great ones that are coming through DSU. And I think that we're in a good community that we're able to bring businesses in, but we also need to have the room to do it. We need to have the people to build it. We need to have all of that. You can't just expand all at one time. So I don't really have a strategic plan on it right now. It wasn't anything that I've been thinking about. I do hope that we continue to grow at a slower pace. I would hate to grow too fast and not have the housing and other needs that we may need and the extra people using the streets and things like that. So hopefully we continue to grow at a good rate. And that's all I have to say on that.
Very good. Thank you. Robert Thill, what is your plan for the community in regards to economic development?
Well, I think a lot of this falls back on the LAIC and the chamber. They need to see where there's some businesses that we can bring to town and get our main street built back up. And there's a spot out here by Lewis and Montgomery's that there's a building that could go in. And I just think that we need more clothing stores. And in my campaign around town here, I've had a lot of people bring up about we need maybe another grocery store. So, it's kind of up to the chamber and the LAIC. That's what we're paying them for.
Very good. Marshall Dennert, last candidate for commission. What is your plan for the community in regards to economic development?
I think for economic to develop, we need, as a city, we need to retire some of uh, our long-term debt early, and we have been working on that, but we need to work a little bit harder to get rid of that so we can develop downtown a little bit more, so people will want to come to Madison to open up new businesses.
Very good. Thank you very much. Now we're going to have closing comments, final comments and closing remarks. We'll start at the other end this time. We started the opening comments at this, so we'll start with Susan Kelly Wicks. Final comments. This is a maximum of 2 minutes.
Well, thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for your questions. Little bit of self-disclosure. So I was a band geek in high school. Marching band was my whole world. It was the most important thing. And my hero was my band director, Bob Goheen. What he always used to tell us over and over and over again was good enough never is. Ugh. Every morning in rehearsal, it was good enough never is, good enough never is. And that's the thought that I want to leave you with tonight. That's the attitude that I try to take into my professional career. I am never a good enough therapist. I always want to be learning more and doing better. And that's the attitude that I would bring into the school board if I'm fortunate enough to be elected. I think Madison is a great school district, but great, good enough never is. And I think if we just sit back and tell ourselves how great this school district is, we're missing opportunities to make it even better. So I want to again ask for your vote and reassure you that I'm always going to be looking for opportunities to make things better. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Lori Schultz, the second candidate for school board, for your closing remarks. Lori?
Okay, thanks, John. Again, thank you for coming out tonight. I know that there are people in this town that care about the city election and the school board election, and it shows. There is passion And that's great. I'm very happy that we had to have this debate tonight, that there was interest in serving on these positions. So that is something I'm grateful for. I think you have a tough decision out there. I believe any one of us, or any two of us, would do a fabulous job on the school board. I think we all care and we are passionate about education. Um, I would like the opportunity to continue to serve the community, and I am always open to suggestions or questions or thoughts. But there is one thing about me: you're going to get my honest opinion. I tend not to sugarcoat things, and um, I will be honest with you. And so sometimes we'll agree, and sometimes we don't agree, and that's okay.
The third candidate for school board, Steve Nelson, your closing remarks.
Well, we have an amazing school system within a great community. Our school district is proactive, and the key word is active. They're always looking for ways to improve our school. We have an amazing student body which is achieving great things and capable of achieving great things. I'm excited about the great future Madison Central has, and I would like to thank you for your vote.
Thank you very much, Steve. Those are the school board candidates. We'll switch back to the city commission. Final remarks, Mike Waldner.
Well, first off, thanks everybody for attending, being involved in the government process to shape the future of your city and your school district. Also, thank those who are listening online and or that are on the radio. Yeah, we have a lot of exciting things happening in Madison, and it's poised to continue that greatness. I have the energy, have the time. I don't have as much energy as Steve, but nobody does. Um, Time and willing to put in the effort that it takes to be a city commissioner, the time to visit not just with the departments that you oversee, but also with the entire umbrella of the city. And part of that is that I will do everything that I can do to keep moving the city in this positive direction. I'm a lifelong learner. I love learning new things. I love learning about the electric department, the streets department, the PD, and everything else, the finance office. Oh boy, you want to learn things, go through the budgets and always fun to do that. So again, with that, just thank you. Call me, text me if you have questions before the vote. If you want to take a deeper dive into any of these issues, get a hold of me. We'll have a cup of coffee, have lunch, breakfast, dinner, whatever it takes. We'll get together and we can discuss things further. With that, thank you.
Can we do breakfast?
Teresa Valoy Leash, second candidate for city commission.
So thank you so much for coming out and hearing us all tonight. I was really nervous about coming tonight. It's the first time I think I've ever been in front of this many people. I heard there was going to be about a dozen people here. Somebody lied to me. For sure. So I saw you all coming in. I'm thinking, I don't know if I can do this, but you all have been very, very good. I am a problem solver. I'm ready to do this. I'm very excited about becoming a commissioner. I have the dedication to do it. I love to learn new things. I am a financial person. I have a degree in financial services, and I think this is something that it's on my bucket list. I want to do it. I think I'd be good at it, and I hope that I have your vote.
Thank you very much. Robert Thill, third candidate for city commission.
First of all, I'd like to thank the chamber, KJM, and especially the school for opening their doors tonight so we could come in. And I'd like to thank you people to take time out of your busy schedule to come and listen to this very important ceremony tonight. Having worked with the city and being a city commissioner, I understand a lot of the tax important issues, and I would work very hard for you guys. And Madison's a great place to raise a family and has many activities going on for the leadership of the citizens. And I really think that the citizens and taxpayers have a good deal. If you have any questions or concerns, my number's in the phone book. You can give me a call anytime. And I have ample time. I'm retired. I can go to meetings during the day, and I'm willing to listen. As a commissioner, I will work for you, the taxpayers. I appreciate your support. April 10th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Fourth candidate for City Commission, Marshall Dennert, your closing remarks.
Also, I want to thank KGM, the chamber, and the school for letting us come and be part of this, and also the public for coming out for your questions. Again, if I'm elected, my door will be always open for any questions, concerns, or suggestions. I'll work very hard to lower utility costs, reduce spending and long-term debt, and be a strong voice for the public. I appreciate your vote on April 10th, and thank you.
Well, you've been holding your applause all night. Let's recognize all the candidates. And you may turn your cell phones back on if you'd like as well. Just a reminder, the election is next Tuesday. It's just 6 days away, but absentee ballots are available also. So please get out to vote and encourage your neighbors to do so. Let's have a good turnout for this election. Thank you everyone for coming tonight.